Okay, mic testing. Hi everyone. I hope you're fine. Good evening. Welcome to another Growth Hackers Africa webinar. I'm so excited to be here and thank you for joining us. My name is Ayomikun Akinlosose and I am going to be your moderator today. To be honest, I'm really excited about talking about ROI and spend because one, I am a strategist at heart, and today's conversation on maximizing ROI when running high budget campaigns is really important because it's so easy to spend your budget and still get like really terrible performance or results. I don't know if a lot of us here have gone through that. I have. I've been a marketer for 5 years, and I think at the beginning, the start of my career in 2019, there were definitely moments where I blew some money and I thought it was gonna, come back with this really good result, but it ended up being not what I expected, right? So to be honest, my hot take is that, or a spicy take, is that you can't really be a good marketer if you don't have a good grasp of how to get optimal results from your campaigns at different spend levels. So, for example, for some, huge focus on ROI can be negligible, especially if you're spending 3, 4 digits. For example, at 2019, I was spending 3, 4 digits, $4,000 here, $5,000 here. But as you get into 6, 7, 8 digits, it becomes really crucial for you as a marketer to know what to do to get the best results so that you are not leaving money on the table. And that is why I can't wait to get the conversation started. I'm really excited to hear the speakers talk. They have done the work across different industries. They have walked the walk, and today they are going to be talking the talk. They're going to share what they've done, they're doing, what led to their successes, what they've learned, and what their plan is going forward to keep the momentum going. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here again. This is 4:05, so I think we can get started. I know you're gonna love the conversation, so yeah, let's start the show. So first off, I'm just gonna introduce myself. My name is Ayomiko Akinlosose, and right now I am a senior growth marketing specialist at Kuda. And before now, I have worked at Dulux. The first major brand that I worked with or worked on was the Dulux Nigeria brand. And there I was the digital marketing manager. And I've also worked at Backdrop. I've also done some work for Golden Penny, Union Bank. And right now, I work at Kuda, where I am a senior growth marketing specialist. And my job is basically improving customer acquisition. So getting customers from different channels and platforms, also improving onboarding, activating customers using different lifecycle channels and product channels, and also retaining customers. For me, I think that customers are not just statistics, they're not just numbers, they're real people. As marketers, I think that's one thing we need to have at the back of our minds, right? Like whoever you're speaking with, whoever you're talking to via ads or whatever, is a real person, right? They have real needs, they have real wants, they have real desires. And this is why my work as a marketer is always focused on providing value to both the brands that I'm working with and also customers. I'm hearing some interference. I don't know if that is from my end or I don't know if anyone can hear that, but okay. So yes, so that's really who I am. I love my job a lot and I really like what I do at Kuda at the moment. So that's just a little brief intro about myself. Right now I'm gonna go to the speakers. When we had the dry run, I called them the man, the myth, the legend. And yeah, still that. So first off, we have Oluwapelumi Oyetimein. Oluwapelumi is a growth manager and digital strategy expert, currently the CEO at Pepper, a social commerce platform. He has a proven track record of driving significant growth, user acquisition, and retention. Notably at Omba, he led marketing, achieving over 1.5 million app downloads and $46 million in monthly transaction volume with a 22x ROAS. As senior manager at SafeBorder, he increased user base and reduced acquisition costs. A former president of DigiClan, he has also trained thousands with Google in Africa and mentors on ADP lists, Digital Boost UK, and advises startups. A three-time YTech 100 honoree, he's a sought-after speaker at events like Africa Startup Festival and GrowthCon, recognized for his innovation and strategic leadership. So yeah, phenomenal. Again, the speakers who are speaking today are phenomenal. They have done the work, and I'm so excited to listen to them and learn from all that they've done across different industries. Next up, we have Tayo Sadique, who is a performance marketing consultant with over 8 years experience in performance and growth marketing and managing over $10 million in ad spend and generating upwards of $30 million in revenue. Tayo Sadique's experience has spanned multiple industries, including fintech, B2B SaaS, and consumer tech in markets across the US, Canada, Africa, and Europe. Leading performance marketing teams for the past 3 years, he has developed and executed paid and organic campaigns that drove user acquisition and revenue while significantly improving user engagement and conversion rates. So also, while I was planning and prepping for the webinar, I had to go stalk the speakers on LinkedIn, and looking at their LinkedIn profiles, like, my flabber is gusted. They've done so much, and I'm so excited to hear you listen to them today. And the last but not the least, we have Fabio Abiola, who is the divisional head, digital marketing at InterSwitch Group. Fabio Abiola has a broad range of experience in marketing across multiple markets: Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Morocco, Uganda, in FMCG, ex-Reckitt, e-commerce, ex-Jumia, gaming, sports, betting, ex-Kingmakers, BetKing, and currently works as the divisional head, digital marketing at InterSwitch Group. Across his roles, Fabio has led performance and digital marketing, which includes social media, SEO, paid digital advertising, lifecycle marketing, and affiliates to drive customer acquisition, revenue, retention, reactivation, and overall business growth. He is passionate about creating and executing effective strategies that drive customer acquisition, engagement, and retention, revenue, ROAS, ROMs, and overall business growth using the right MarTech tools. Again, phenomenal, just reading, phenomenal. And I'm so excited to speak to you guys today, Tayo, Oluwapelumi, and Fabio. I hope you're having a really good evening. If you can hear me, just say hi. Hi.
Hi, hi everyone.
Okay, cool. You can hear me. Good. So we're gonna get to it now. But before that, again, thank you for everyone joining. I don't know how many people are watching on YouTube, but I can see 4 comments already. So hi Kizito, hi Rufus, hi Z. So yeah, really cool to have everyone joining here. So now let's get to it. But before, we're gonna start with something really fun. It's just gonna be like a selection between 2 options for the speakers. So I'm going to start with you, Tayo. So first off, Google ads versus Facebook ads. Which would you go for?
Google.
Okay, cool. Next up, I have Fabio. Apps Flyer or Adjust?
I'll go for Adjust.
Ooh, okay. I was expecting Apps Flyer, but okay, cool. And then Oluwapelumi, I would say Customer.io or MailChimp.
Customer.io.
Okay, cool. I don't know if I have one round of this left in me, but I think the next would be for you, Oluwapelumi, Amplitude or Mixpanel?
Mixpanel.
Mixpanel, okay. I would say that too. Fabio, Snapchat or Twitter ads?
I'll go for Snapchat.
Snapchat, okay. And then lastly, Tayo, what else do I have in my head right now? To be honest, okay. I think same thing. I'm going to ask you what I asked Oluwapelumi, but I'm going to use Metabase instead. Metabase or Mixpanel?
Mixpanel.
Mixpanel. Okay, cool. Last round of fun games would be asking each of the speakers for their hot take or a spicy take, like I like to call it. So I want each and every one of you to give me your spicy hot take. It could be about marketing, it could be about the industries you've worked at, it could be about the different teams you've worked at, or even the product. So yeah, I want just one spicy take, one hot take from everybody. I don't know who wants to go first. If you want to go first, just if you want to go first. I don't want to pick. I don't want to call on somebody, so someone should please
go first.
Okay.
Who?
You yourself should go first.
You can go first.
Oh, I should go. Okay, I'll go first. Okay, so my hot take is that Facebook ads is not a really good channel for top of funnel acquisition. I think it's really great for the middle of the funnel where you're in the consideration stage. But if you're trying to get people into the pool, into the funnel, I don't think Facebook ads is great for that. For me, I would take YouTube, I would take Snap. I would even take Snap over Facebook ads. But Facebook is fantastic at the consideration stage and also at the bottom of the funnel. So yeah, that's my own hot take. So I think I've given you guys 1 minute to think about your hot take. So now I'm going to call anybody. I'm going to call on Oluwapelumi for your own hot take.
I think mine is probably going to be industry based, and it's simple. Until BVN is no longer the key way we do KYC for customers in Nigeria, everybody in the fintech space, all of us, they also the same number of people. So,
Okay, cool. Even recently at Akuda, we just actually announced our own NIN flow because, of course, we're going through it with the BVN. So right now we have 2 flows for customers, BVN and NIN. But definitely, I do see your point. So next up, I have Fabio. So yeah, let's hear your hot take or spicy take.
So for me, I'll just use a phrase that I usually use for anything I want to do. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. That's what I use. If there's anything that you can't measure, you can't actually improve it. So I'll always make sure I run away from anything I can't measure.
Okay, yeah. Oluwapelumi also mentioned that growth is not marketing. Oh, okay. I'm going to give you 1 minute to actually just speak on that for 1 minute. Yeah.
Let Tayo go first. Tayo, your hot take.
Tayo, you go first with your spicy take, and then we'll come back to Oluwapelumi. I do agree with you, by the way. I think growth is not just a marketing function; it's for every freaking team in the company, in the brand, right? So yeah, but I want to hear what you have to say. So yeah, Tayo, let's get your spicy take.
Okay, yeah. Fabio's spicy take is very, very spicy. I almost choked because I actually tend to love those things we can't measure. For my own this thing, I would say the AAARRR funnel is a myth. It's a waste of time, and I think there's only 2 stages, especially with performance and in my books, there's only two phases: prospecting and conversion. You prospect up until the user pays you, and that's when you convert. That's all you need.
Okay. You're offending the pirates that we have watching on YouTube. But no worries. Pirates, I'm here for y'all. No problem. So let's go back to Oluwapelumi for 1 minute when he said growth. I think people on YouTube didn't see that, but he mentioned in the private chats, and he said that growth is not marketing. So I'm going to give him 1 minute to actually touch on that before we get into the nitty-gritty of why we're here. So yeah, let's go.
Okay, I think for most people, they equate growth and marketing, and then when you find companies who say they're looking for growth managers, they're expecting someone who's going to come and do performance marketing, which is far from it. Growth is everything
Yeah.
that the business needs to grow in simple terms. But when you look at it, so for example, marketing is handling acquisition. But if you're doing all of those ads, billboards or even handbills and whatever, and you're acquiring those people, but then to sign up Nawala, you know, that's a problem. So guess who's in charge of sign ups and onboarding? Products. Because
Yeah.
who has to work with the dev team to review the product and all of that. So if the product basically needs to be better, that falls on the product. If the cost of service needs to that's on finance, for example.
Yeah.
If customer service needs to be better, that's on operations. So all of those things fall into growth. Not one of
Yeah.
them is not equal to growth. It's A plus B plus C plus D equal
Yo.
this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree with you. And it's one of the things I usually say when I talk to people about my job. Like when a lot of people say, "Oh, marketers, you guys are just running ads," and I'm like, "Man, I don't know, man, because that's not what my job is. Like, I'm not just running ads. If you ask anyone who works with me at Kuda, I'm not just running ads. To be honest, even this year, currently, I haven't run any ads this year at Kuda, but I have been working and I've been getting paid, and you can't get paid without working, right? So yeah, my job as a growth person is definitely not just running ads. There's a whole lot from improving onboarding, which is one thing I've actually been working on also at Kuda right now. I think one thing I'm going to say, I don't know who I heard it from, but I heard it from somewhere, either one of the podcasts I listened to or whatever. But the person said, when you work on the growth team, or um, even marketers generally, but let's say specifically to growth, you're not solving a marketing problem, you're solving business problems, right? I think a lot of marketers think that you're solving marketing problems, which is getting people to just know about the product or brand awareness or whatever. But like the business has different initiatives, the business has different goals. For example, when the whole CBN thing happened last year, and then Kuda, MoneyPoint, and Co could not onboard customers on the growth team, that was a business problem that we had to solve, right? So that's not just a marketing problem. So as marketers, you're not really solving just marketing problems. You're solving the problems that the business might have at any point in time. So yeah, this has been really good. So much spicy takes. I hope people on the back end are recording the spicy takes. I'm putting it out there for everyone to see. But yeah, let's get into the conversation. And I'm so excited to talk to you. The questions that we have prepared, or I have prepared, I think are very interesting. So we're just going to get into it. So again, back to the focus of this webinar. For one, it is very crucial that when you are running high budget campaigns, that you actually have a plan, you have a strategy, and you're not just throwing things at the wall and then wondering, oh, if this sticks, that works. We're not just like trying to duct tape things together. And that's why when running high budget campaigns, high spend campaigns, the first thing that you need to work on is the plan, is the campaign plan and strategy. That's the foundation that you need to get right. So this is a question for all the speakers, and it just goes, the best strategy in the world doesn't matter if you don't have the proper resources, team, and operation to carry it out. Given your experience scaling budgets across different industries, what does this look like for large scale campaigns? How do you set up the right operational structure to support performance? So I would like to hear from Fabio first. I want to hear what you think, what the structure looks like for running large scale campaigns from $100,000 and above, and what kind of teams or people or resources do you think is essential to support, maximizing your ROI for those kind of campaigns? Yeah.
Thanks, Ayomiku. So for me, from my experience so far, What I always try to do is to prioritize based on the business objective, right? And what maturity stage the business that I'm currently working on is. And when I mean maturity stage, if I was working for a startup, the stage of maturity is currently acquisition, right? And that stage, you need to make sure you get your acquisition right to the best level of users that you can get. Now, setting a proper team for acquisition, I look at the proficiency. One of the biggest proficiency for setting that team is channel fluency. And what do I mean by channel fluency? I mean, I need a performance marketing specialist that understands this channel in and out. And this helps us to make sure that we are choosing the right channel for this acquisition, right? So at that acquisition maturity level, I need channel fluency, and then I also need data analysis. Now, what do I need data analysis for? At this stage, we're acquiring from so many channels. We would need expertise to understand which channel is actually giving us the right customers on a long-term basis, right? If not, we will
Yeah.
just be throwing the net out there and just be using every channel. So connecting these two expertise together, channel fluency, making sure that we are optimizing as best as possible and not wasting a lot of funds on the wrong channel or the wrong setup or the wrong optimization, and also understanding the quality of users also coming from this channel. Now, if I'm in a stage where the maturity of the business is retaining customers, right?
Yeah.
I'll probably not need a someone who has channel fluency. I'll be looking at someone who is very good in life cycle marketing, right? To summarize, the strategy for me and the competency for me depends on the maturity stage. If you lose
Yeah.
it on the maturity stage, then you will mix match the sort of structure that you want at every stage. Now, to help you better, you can create a roadmap of where you are right now and where you want to be. You're an acquisition stage right now. This is who you need to employ. By the time you get to that stage, this is who you need to employ. I think that's how I'll approach this question.
Okay, that makes sense. And to me, one of the major things I got there is a channel fluency, and I think that boils down into generalist and specialist. At some point, you need a specialist, someone who understands the channel, and at some other points, you also need a generalist, someone who understands different channels. Right? I started as a generalist. Actually, I did a lot of things, a whole lot. But right now, I'm more of a specialist, and I know more about specific channels and solving specific problems. So yeah, thank you very much for that. So now I'm going to go to Tyra. Tyra, I want to hear your take on what it looks like, the setup, the operational structure for large scale campaigns based on your experience. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you. Um, in terms of like large scale campaigns, I agree with everything that Fabio talked about. Also, one other thing is, when you say large scale campaigns, you are actually like in the 6-figure, 7-figure monthly spend range.
Yeah.
Um, in most cases, what I also tend to find is while you are in this 6-figure, 7-figure range, you are also like concentrated, like this 6-figure, 7-figure on specific channels. So you are probably doing 100K per month, 200K per month on Google only. And you are doing another 100K per month on Meta, or you are doing 200K per month on LinkedIn and the likes. So cumulatively, you already spend like 500K. One thing that you want to like find there is, number one, in terms of like operational structure, your company should actually like, have gotten to that PMF stage before you even like start doing this kind of large scale campaigns. I would not advise a company that is yet to like, achieve PMF or doesn't have like, that bout of like, this is where our customers get the aha moment. This is where our customers stay. And this is where, this is how long they stay on the platform, like in terms of like retention. Paid customers tend to generally have like lower retention rates. So you want to ensure that your average retention across board, both paid and organic campaigns actually like make sense so that you're able to like generate ROI from your campaign. Because with large scale campaigns, it's easy to like, spend this money and not get any return back. So that's
Yeah.
one. Then secondly, with your large scale campaigns, you want to like now think of, Fabio talked about channel specialists and the likes. One thing that I did back at Yellow Card was, creating, channel strategy for each and every channel that we had campaigns live on. So this channel strategy also ensure that even if you are a generalist and you are asked to go into any particular channel, you can actually execute in that channel. So we had this in a general Yellow Card performance marketing handbook, and this was because we were spending a lot, and we also we're also spending across multiple geos. So there had to be a strategy for, for instance, I'll give this example. The way Facebook ads, the way we run Facebook ads at Yellow Card in Ghana is very different from how we run Facebook ads in South Africa. And this actually all of these kinds of depending on the brand, all these learnings tend to distill down for how you are going to determine how different channels will work and how you are going to allocate budgets and all of these things. So you need to have a channel strategy, even if you are hiring channel specialists, because there has to be a way that they're able to follow to get the optimal results for your brand. And then finally, around data analysis, there is no growth if you are unable to improve on what you have. And improving on what you have means you must be aware of where you currently are. So you need to constantly analyze data. You need to be able to find, okay, what are the different ways we can span our campaigns out? That is, how can we make sure that our campaigns are are able to reach new set of users, new set of customers? Are we able to are we exhausting our current user base? So how are you removing people that are already converted from your funnel? How are you making sure that you are getting net new customers and the like?
Okay.
So are the kind of operational things you need to put in place.
Okay, thank you, Tyra. So one I picked from you is having the channel strategy, definitely, and then from Fabio is the channel fluency. So now I'm gonna go to Oluwapelumi. Let me hear what you think about the right operational structure to support performance when you're running large scale or high spend campaigns.
Okay. For me, the very first thing I usually try to take care of is people. People in the sense that when you're running this kind of campaigns, these are not the points where, or these are not the points where you want a situation that you need to make certain changes really fast, and then there is bureaucracy in the way, or you need to go and ask Y for permission, or you need to go and ask Z for permission, because the difference between you and 100K loss is really small. So when you need certain things done, you literally need them done fast and as soon as possible. So it's one thing that I try to put in place one way or the other. If I'm working in a traditional setting, I let them realize that it's no longer going to be business as usual. Then I also need whoever gives direct approval. I'm not about to go meet the deputy somebody to get to go talk to the somebody while I wait for that, because what happens is time is going, money is wasting, and you're not moving forward or making any progress. So people management for me is really key, because so there was a point where we're doing say about 1 million a month, which of course came down to, what am I saying? It's actually more than that. But yeah, about 1 million per month, and we needed approval for something, and someone said, "Oh, it's going to take 2 weeks." I'm like, if you break down how much you're spending per day and do that times 2 weeks, are you willing to give that back to the company while you work on it? And then I got to the following day. So yeah, $1 million. So because you need people who get things done faster as soon as possible. You don't want them standing in your way. Then also the right measurement, the right attribution. And this one I even learned the hard way. So, for example, we're acquiring people, and it was fun because we could see that, okay, fine, these people are coming through, right? But then, because the platforms more or less recognize them as new people, and the attribution was recognizing them as new people, we thought they were new people, but when they came to our platform, they were already registered. The only difference is maybe they had registered like 3 to 6 months before that period. So at the end of the day, we're acquiring the same people because of the
Existing
volume
customer.
of the amount that was spending.
Yeah.
So my measurement, my attribution, my end-to-end dashboard visibility is something that I'm not just relying on. Like third-party tools are great. AppsFlyer is amazing. Mixpanel is awesome, but I also need like a source of truth from
Yeah.
inside the company that tells
Yeah.
me, okay, so when I start to see a discrepancy in the numbers, like, oh yeah, we acquired 1,000 people or 1,000 downloads yesterday, right? But then I'm looking at total number of signups and I'm seeing like 10, right? Then I know that there's something obviously very wrong somewhere in
Yeah.
that flow. So yeah, that's the two things: people and measurements.
Cool. That makes sense. Definitely, I agree with the source of truths. I could, for example, as long, even though I use like AppsFlyer and then in platform analytics and whatever, the data team, my growth data team, are like my guys because we always need to go back and see what's happening. Is the numbers we're saying from Facebook or from Google or from Snap? What's happening. Also, it really helps to understand what channels are actually performing well because the guys in-house can do a lot of the back-end comparisons based on how valuable those customers are, right? We're looking at Snap, Facebook, Twitter, Google, and then you can't really tell sometimes. You can't really tell if you
True.
acquire 1 million. Yeah, you can, if you acquire 1 million customers from each of these platforms, sometimes it might be hard for you to tell which of them actually converts, I would say, the real bottom funnel events that you really want. For example, if you're looking at people who do first transaction, you might not really be able to tell. Facebook can give you one figure and say 500 people, whatever. But then when you go back to your guys in-house and then you hear the real numbers and you're like, oh, okay. You can't really trust in-platform data sometimes.
True.
So yeah, definitely I agree with you. So from the three speakers, I picked from Fabio, channel fluency, and then from Tayo, I picked channel strategy, and lastly from Oluwapelumi, I picked like having the right measurement setup and data. So we are 34 minutes in, and we have quite a number of questions that still need to be answered. So I'm going to implore each and every one of you, the speakers, to please reduce the amount of time you spend. I know you have you have a whole lot to say, but maybe you guys can send that to me personally, and then and then I'll share it with every other person on LinkedIn or something. But yeah, please, let's just take 1 or 2 minutes and then talk briefly about these things. So now we've talked about the first, which is understanding what resources you need to run high spend campaigns or what structure you need to have. The next question I have is for Oluwapelumi, and that question is, how do you approach allocating $100,000 budget or even more to test the right channels for ROI? To be honest, I feel like there is no one way to look at what your channel mix should be like, especially depending on what stage you are in. I'm a big fan of testing one channel and testing that channel really well. I'm not a fan of splitting your spend across different channels without actually having channel proficiency. I would use that without actually having maximized the channel properly. So I really want to understand how you would approach allocating 100,000 or more to test the right channels for ROI, and then how do you pick those channels, whether based on the stage that the business is, or also maybe the type of customers you're trying to acquire. So I just want to hear what you think about.
Okay, so before I would normally take maybe a fraction of the budget, say 5%, right? And basically spread that across all the channels that I think will work, right?
Okay.
Thankfully, now experience has more or less taught me. So depending on the industry, depending on the target audience, one of the things I do now is pick specific channels to start with. And when you're starting out, because I mean, not a lot of people have experience like that. When you take that 5% of your entire budget, you ensure that you have your attribution set up already. So you basically assign the same budget to all of them. Note two things in particular: how many people sign up per channel and how many people transact per channel. So based on those two things, right, you can then see, okay, using the percentage from all these channels, you then start to arrange your budget that way based on whichever one you're trying to optimize for. So historically for fintech, for example, right, you're probably going to see Google be cheaper for you, but you're going to get better
Yeah.
people come through from Facebook. Now,
Yeah.
when you get better people come through from Facebook and you're basically trying to optimize for better people, essentially you look at, okay, fine, let's say 100 people overall came through, or let's say 50 from your 5K, right? How many
Yeah.
of these people came from Facebook? How many of these people came from Google? How many came from TikTok or Snapchat or whichever other channel, right, that you're trying to use? Then you start to scale little by little, because you don't just wake up one day and put 100K on your budget. Your CPAs are going to shoot through the roof. It's going to be insane. So you then scale gradually. Rule of thumb at a particular up until a particular point is that you do 20% over 3 days, 20%
Yeah.
over 3 days.
Yeah.
But sometimes that can take you forever to get to where you want to get to that 100K. So imagine you're starting from 5K and you're trying to get to 100K. 20% over 3 days is going to take forever. So you stop the campaign, set up a new one, and then using the percentage that you've already worked out from your test, just do like half of it and then scale to the rest. So
Okay.
choose your channel is simple. Which one gives you your KPI?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely, I agree. For also my own hot take is, if you're not spend another hot take on this choosing channels and all, I feel like, to be honest, if you're not spending six figures, right? I don't think you should be doing too much. I feel like a lot of people do too much with the little budget that they have. And if you want to really be good at a channel, like you really want to maximize the ROI from a channel, you need to actually spend time in running proper campaigns. Test different things. Right, a lot of I feel like when I was I think 2022 and 2020, yeah, 2022, 2021, yeah, we were trying to be on different channels, this, that, Facebook, Snap, Twitter, Apple search ads, and a whole lot. But we had like really tiny budget, and we were not seeing any difference. We're not making any impact because we're spread too thin, right? So yes, yes, people want to optimize their time. But one thing I know is, if you have 100,000 budget, like Oluwapelumi has said, make sure that you're scaling based on, or even more than 100,000. You have to make sure you're scaling based on the performance of the channel, right? And yeah, please don't put 100,000 on Facebook. Facebook is gonna kill you, and they will take all your money and spend it in 2 days. So yeah, thank you for that, Oluwapelumi. Right now, I'm gonna speak to Sadique. So Sadique, going through your LinkedIn, phenomenal work, and I saw that you drove a 30% month-on-month increase in paid attributed revenue at Financial Sense, and you scaled Yellow Card's B2B customer acquisition to contribute to $100 million, even more, in monthly transactions. And for me, I know that for you to have done this, you can't really, I don't think you can drive that much in paid attributed revenue if you're not thinking full funnel, right? So I want to hear how you had to think of full funnel and how you optimized your media mix, your channel mix to achieve that. So what does the funnel look like for high budget campaigns where you're trying to get returns of 30% month on month in paid attributed revenue?
Okay. I'll speak to FC, that's Financial Sense, first.
Okay.
So Number one, is measurements. So I'll just like I won't talk too much about that because Pelumi already talked about it. Just
Yeah.
set your measurements correctly. Make sure that you can attribute where revenue is coming from, and you can tie that back to your paid ads. So how we did that was, financial science is B2B, so it's kind of easier than app campaigns. So we basically had like, we had a way where we were tagging every user that signed up, and we're able to like measure that over like from our paid ads, and we're able to see that over on like HubSpot. So you could track all the way from which particular search keyword drove them to sign up, which particular search keyword was driving revenue, which one was creating deals and all of that. So make sure you know your measurement. So in terms of now, like funnel, before we even talk about funnel, one other thing we also need to do is deep understanding of your users, or the kind of users that you want. If you have like a very very clear ICP, and a financial sense, we had this culture where on every time you had to like every month, sorry, you had to like sit in on a customer demo, or you do a customer interview. So it's one either of those things, and it's usually like you probably like you number between 5 and 10 different customer demos and customer interviews every month. Why do we do this? We do this in order to like constantly understand our customers, understand what they are looking for, and all of that. So that is another like part of like the funnel that is usually not given love, but is very very important. You need to understand your customers deeply. Where do they hang out? What are they talking about? What kind of content resonates with them, and all of that. So now in terms of full funnel starts all the way from the content that you actually like put out there. That's your creatives, what you are saying in your creatives. So I tend to just put that in like the content bucket. If you don't have a good content program, you are most likely not going to like get like great results with paid ads, all the way
Yeah.
to like now putting structures in place. For instance, you had like a very optimized landing page. After your users actually like see your content, the content that you're promoting, the ads that you're promoting on on Google, on Meta, on LinkedIn, you need to have like an optimized landing page that actually like speaks to their problem. So this is where that customer interview also comes in, because you understand what they actually like really want, what they actually like clamoring for. So you need to like put that there. You need to like make sure that you have a very optimized landing page. Then from your landing page now, you are now like going into once they sign up, you have like all your nurturing flows and everything in place in order to ensure like your email, your lifecycle campaign. That's to ensure that they're able to move from just a regular sign up to activate and actually like become customers basically. So, and then for a company like Yellow Card, when Yellow Card started B2B campaigns, we had to like now start acquiring like customers that are more in the B2B space. So this is where you're now talking about how big are we looking at here? Like we're targeting customers mostly in the US and Europe, that wants to like that wants to like open up like or set up operations in Nigeria with or Africa without having to go through all the compliance needs. We understood what the problem was. We understood what these people
Yeah.
wanted, and that was what we're putting out to them. We were primarily on LinkedIn, so ads are typically more expensive, but at the same time, gross transaction volume, projected gross transaction volume and gross transaction volume was actually like very high. Acquiring a customer like MoonPay meant that we actually like seeing a lot of transaction volume from this kind of customers. Acquiring like large customers like this, PayPal, Coinbase, and others like that. That actually like now onboarded with Yellow Card was also like in part due to like the paid campaigns that we're running. So we are running paid campaigns where we actually like know the kind of key stakeholders that we want to that we're targeting. The sales team is
Targeting.
actually actively engaging with them, but we're also like actively pushing ads, ABM ads, basically account-based marketing ads to them over on like different channels that they are on. So you're on Facebook, you are seeing Yellow Card. You are on LinkedIn, you are seeing Yellow Card, and these are like ads are very very targeted, basically. So what does the funnel look like for this thing now? Like I mentioned, prospecting and conversion. I like to like bundle everything that has to do with like prospecting. That is awareness, acquisition, and activation in one bucket. Why do I do that? Because I feel like if I have to like do an ad that is specifically tailored to awareness, another ad specifically tailored to acquisition, another ad specifically tailored to activation, how am I to know that you are seeing it in that sequence? Do you understand? But one thing that I can always know that you see in that sequence is when you actually like see one particular creative, and then you actually have like awareness copy, acquisition copy, and activation copy in one creative. As much as possible, it seems like something impossible to do, but you can actually like frame your copies in such a way that you are able to like take somebody from, oh, I have this problem, this is a solution that solves this problem, I think I should jump on board. You can actually like frame it in one copy, and then you create different variations of it, making sure that you're now like you're now tipping the skills. So some focus more on awareness, some focus more on activation, some focus more on acquisition, but then you actually like putting all the messaging in that particular copy in your creative basically. And then you go back to conversion. Retargeting is a lot like B2B. You need to retarget a lot with B2B. So when you're retargeting, I don't talk about this thing. I'm talking about how you can actually like start paying us, basically, because virtually all the campaigns I actually like tend to run tend to like focus on like revenue generation, revenue generation. So you need to now start like now putting like testimonials. You're putting basically conversion creatives, creative product marketing creatives, case studies, and things that basically tips somebody's skill and make sure that like they bring out their credit card and say, yeah, take my money. So that is where you want to be in terms of like the funnel. So I try to like just combine all those things into one on one end, and on the other end as well we also have like conversion. So awareness, prospecting and conversion campaigns. That's like the simplified funnel that I tend to work with.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, especially on the part of you don't know what stage the customer is, because the customer journey is non-linear, right? People are like, you're doing one thing today, you get distracted, but you know about the brand, and then you come back to it again. Maybe you see an ad on Facebook, but you've seen the brand before, right? So you're really not new to the brand, right? So if you're still telling me, introducing me to the brand, you might lose me at some point. So I get the point of connecting a lot of those things, but I think it needs to center on a theme. I think that's why I can pick from you. It needs to center on a theme, right? So
Yeah.
that it makes sense whenever I'm seeing it, whether I'm in the awareness stage or the consideration stage. There's a theme that ties those things together, so it makes sense to me whenever I see it during my journey. So one thing you mentioned is awareness, and my next question is for Fabio, and is also centered on awareness, right? So for again, Fabio has led digital and performance strategies across several fintech giants like InterSwitch, QuickTeller, and Verve. And for me, I want to understand how, whether across those different brands, how you were able to balance brand awareness, and that's like top of funnel plays, with conversion optimized advertising when you're running high spend campaigns. Right now, I am a big fan of awareness campaigns because, for one, the total addressable market for a lot of businesses is quite broad, right? However, your conversion campaigns are not really going to meet all the people in your total addressable market, and that's why a lot of brands tend to run awareness campaigns or reach campaigns, because that helps you to improve the number of people who are top funnel, who are coming into the funnel and then can be converted, right? So for me, Fabio, I want to understand how you were able to balance both. So that's like building awareness, getting people in your addressable markets to know about the brands, whether it's InterSwitch or QuickTeller or Verve, and also coming down to conversion, which is like getting people to, convert, add in their cards or download an app or take an action. How did you balance those two things when running high spend campaigns?
Thanks, Aramiko. So to answer this question, I wouldn't say that I would use the example of InterSwitch, QuickTeller, and Verve. And now, why I'm
Okay.
saying so is I just joined InterSwitch about a year ago. And if when I
Okay.
got into Switch, I needed to understand what level they are. Trust me, the brand into Switch is already known. Verve card is already sitting about on 80 million Nigerians already, right? So I wouldn't say
Okay.
the maturity level is from an awareness point of view, except there's a product update we need to do. So what I would use to do the example is I remember in 2014 when I was at Jumia, I was already spending about 30 million naira weekly on ads, right? Today, when I hear people talk about Temu and they are like, "Oh, I'm seeing Temu everywhere. I go here, I'm seeing Temu." That in the top of my head, I said we already did that in 2014 with Jumia. If you can remember, Jumia was the one that was everywhere there. Now, to answer that question, I would say that I always sit on where I don't always go on campaign level. I always sit on where the business is and what the business wants to achieve. Right? I'm pretty much strategic than tactical in my approach. And why would I say this? One is at the point of awareness awareness for a brand that is already known. To be honest, is not really awareness. This brand is already known. Your impression share is going to be very high already. You are going to get good numbers in terms of CTR, and you would assume that your campaign is going super well. But again, it's already a brand that is known. Pick up a brand that is not known and try awareness for that brand, and then you'll be shocked the amount you'll be paying for impressions. um,
Yeah.
so what I would say is first, I try to define what is conversion for each of the brands. Someone knowing a brand, seeing my ads and knowing the brand, for me is also a conversion. I would not really call it awareness from the state that I am now. So let me give you an example. For a Verve card, for instance, the conversion actually happens when you walk into the bank and then you pick up your Verve card, right? So irrespective of the campaign level that I am doing, I must make sure that people are going into the bank and they're asking for a Verve
Yeah.
card. So I'll call it some sort of demand creation. Now I look at the brand and say, what is demand creation for this brand? Demand creation for this brand is to make sure that people know this brand, and that's where we call awareness here. And then that then determines what level of campaign I'm doing. Like you said, is it a rich campaign? However, I would never look at the platform metrics. I'll always look at what is the pickup rate in terms of asking for a Verve card. Did you go into the bank and someone say, "Hey, take a Verve card," and you are like, "I don't know about this card. What card is this or what is that?" Now, if I look at it from a quick teller point of view, I need people to download the ads, right? The app. I need people to use the quick teller app and all. So I also look at this stage, people already know the quick teller app. There's no amount of reach that I do. Somebody would have seen it before. So my awareness needs to convert in some sort of way. So how do I solve this? I solve this with what I call a need state. I create some sort of need state personnel for my campaign and understand what is the need state of everybody that sees the ad, i.e., someone that already has a Verve card in his or her pocket. The need state is not to know about Verve. The need state is to understand the power of that card, right? So what I'm pushing out there for that person is what this card can do for you. In some instance, it looks like awareness, but it's also a very strong level of conversion, because what I want to see is the uptake of, I said this card can actually pay for your Google Play, right? How many people
Yeah.
starts to use their Verve card to pay for Google Play, right? I'm not really doing some sort of awareness on knowing your Verve card. It's already in your pocket, right? I'm doing awareness to create some sort of conversion. In summary, you just need to understand what you want to achieve from the business level side, and the channel options can confuse you. The channel options will say awareness is rich, but at your business level, is awareness actually rich? If awareness is not rich, then that's not the option I would take. So that's how I would approach this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope people are jotting down things like Kule Remy would say, because all that Fabio has said is one thing I resonate. Even Akuda right now, when we think about awareness, we're really not thinking about awareness in the sense of, oh, customers that don't know about Kuda. I know that probably quite a number of people, millions of people in Nigeria who don't know about Kuda. But when we approach awareness, most times we approach it from if we have tapped out on a certain target persona. So we don't approach awareness from, oh, we've tapped out on everybody in our total addressable market, or we're trying to reach everybody in our total addressable market. We look at it from a point of target personas. Have we tapped out of this particular persona, right? So we do awareness campaigns for specific personas that we're trying to reach. That's how we do awareness. But looking back at Fabio's point, if your brand is already a brand that is well known, right, your awareness campaigns are not just to get people to know about the brand. It should be to get people who know about the brand, and also those who don't know, but also get them to convert at least at that point. So for me, if you're running awareness type plays, it needs to be specific to quite a number of personas. That's how I look at it, right? But thank you so much, Fabio, for that. And now moving on to we're going to be talking now about building ad creatives, because I believe that your performance creatives are like the oxygen for your performance, right? If you're running ads on Meta or Facebook or Twitter or Snap or Apple Search or whatever channel you're running on, the blood, the oxygen for whatever campaign you're running are the creatives that you're running with. And for me, right now, I believe that a lot of people kind of over index on the quality of creatives and then under index on the quantity of creatives. I feel like you need to balance both. You need to over index on quality and also over index on quantity if you're going to grow. So, but I want to hear what all the speakers have to say about performance creatives and building performance creatives. And my first question is for Sadique, and which is, as you likely know, a good chunk of your campaigns will come down to your performance creative. So I want to hear how you think about creative strategy and creative sprints for building your high performing creatives.
Okay, yeah. I was looking forward to that question. Creatives are like, my favorite part of performance marketing. And I always say one thing: performance marketing is literally like a blend of like, creativity and what's it called? Creativity and and metrics. Yeah. So when you are like starting out, always start out with your guts. So you've already understood your customers, you already know what they want and all of that. So start out with your guts. Then you now come back to start like refining. So I'm literally trying to tie this into like what this particular question. You start to refine with your metrics. That is what the results are saying. You start using that to refine your messaging. So when you are thinking around like creative sprints, your creative strategy, you need to like come from the perspective of your prospects, your users. What are the challenges that they face? It's usually like the biggest lever, in my opinion. You deeply understanding what that challenge is, and then what your solution is. So it's literally like how Sunzu says it: know your enemy and know yourself. But with performance creatives, it now goes one step further, which is being able to articulate what your customers have, like what they want. You understand, like the problem that they have, and sometimes there might be a disjointed like connection between what they actually like say. Oh, our problem is we need light, and then you are like coming with like a torch, for instance, and then they are living close to like a crude oil drilling facility. It doesn't make sense. You need to be able to connect what your product does, like how your product solves that problem for them, to the challenge that they have, and then you need to now say it in a way that it actually like resonates with them. So that is like the crux of like creative strategy: being able to say what your customers, being able to solve your customers problem by saying it to them. Like I see performance marketing as or marketing in general as sort of like you help your people solve their problems as an humanitarian affair where you are solving people's problems for them. You have this problem, I have what can solve it for you. My goal is to say it to you, to tell you this is how you can solve this problem. And my goal is to say it in such a way that I am communicating, that is, you understand what the problem is and how to solve it. So that is, the goal of, like, performance creatives in general. But how do you now create creative sprints? You need to create like a bank of, like, content, high quality content. You need to beyond your performance marketing, you should have like a very, very solid content program. So how is, your blog, your messaging, and all of that? You need to, like, make sure that all of these things are like set up correctly, such that you can pull content and then bring those contents back into your creative strategy. And then every week, you can now go into, like, your creative sprint should basically start off with, if you are starting off your performance marketing, departments. But if let's talk about like large scale here. For large scale, you've been running ads. When you want to do your creative sprints, I tend to do creative sprints every 2 weeks because I like to, like, have my ads, optimized over a longer period of time. Or you are doing your creative sprints, you are looking at the metrics all the way from, so if you are saying, like, say Meta, for instance, you are looking at your impressions. Like, some people tend to say, oh, impressions don't really matter much and all of that. But if you are running like a dynamic placement campaign, I've forgotten how it is on Meta. I've not run Meta ads in a while. But you have like 10 creatives. You need to look at the impressions across those creatives. Chances are, if Facebook is serving your or a creative less, or if a creative is spending less than others, you should actually, like, look into that ad and actually, like, probably want to take it out. So that's one thing. Then the next thing you look out for is your CTR all. That is, how many clicks in general, that is, comments, somebody clicking on comments, somebody clicking see more, somebody clicking to expand, and all of that. You look at your CTR all. If your CTR all is not great, I usually, like, try to target for anywhere between 3% to 4%. If you have 4%, you are golden. If your CTR all is not great, you should actually, like, now you should go back again and start looking at, okay, what is my hook? How is my hook? Is my hook great? All of that. If you are using video creatives, you need to now go, you need to, like, create custom metrics for your hook rate and your hold rate. So how do you create custom metric for your hook rate? It's basically your impressions divided by number of 3 seconds view that you get. So how many people actually, like, see your ad and then watch for 3 seconds? So that's how you can actually, like, say, okay, this is what my hook rate looks like. Hook rate should actually, like, you should be seeing, like, hook rates maybe in like the 10 to 20% range for you to actually, like, say, okay, I'm actually, like, having like a good hook rate for my video. Then hold rate is how many people watch. So you are dividing normal people that actually have, like, I usually use true plays, but you can also use your 3 seconds view to divide against your 75% view or 50% view. So you are looking at, okay, 3 seconds view to 25% video view to 50% video view to 75% video view and 95% video view. You want to see across that, where does the performance tank, where do people drop off? So you most likely see like a curve that goes, like, it starts from the top and then it starts to drop off. Where you start seeing where that drop off is, you go and watch your video and you say, okay, what am I saying here that is basically, like, making people drop off? What am I saying here that's making people drop off? So once you're able to understand that, what you can do in that scenario is, when you understand that, you can now, like, use that, that's where the metrics come in. You use that for your creative analysis, and then you insert a hook in that place and you test again. So there is this hook rehook strategy that I usually use for video creatives, because for Meta, Meta TikTok, video creatives work really, really great. So you create a hook, you explain what that hook is, then you have like a cliffhanger, you hook them again, you explain what the hook is, have a cliffhanger, create a hook. So in your creative sprint, these are like the all of these are like the creative metrics that you need to look at. So your impressions, your spend per creative. If it's static image, you need to look at your CTR all. That is how many people are clicking around your creative. Then you look at your OCTR. I didn't mention that earlier. OCTR is your optimized click rate, or your So this basically like tells you how many people clicked on the actual link, or some on Facebook you see it as CTR link click. How many people clicked on the actual link to go to your call to action, basically. So, but then this video, you will need to combine all of this plus your old rates, your hook rates and your old rates. So, and I love videos because you can really try like dive deep into like different parts of the video to optimize and optimize and optimize. So that is how you like think of like this thing. Your creative sprint should be literally like data driven. If you are starting off from scratch, you can start off with your guts. What will people react to? What will people love? But as you start to do creative sprints, which is basically about optimizing your creatives, you need to now start going into like, the in-depth of like the data. And this is where your metrics now starts coming back to inform your creativity. So don't never let go of your creativity, but let the metrics inform how creative you get and how you like adjust your stuff. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Never let go of your creativity, but let the metrics inform how creative you get. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you, Tayo. My next question is for Oluwapelumi. Oluwapelumi has been looking. I'm like, when is it going to be my turn? I have to speak. I have something to say. But yeah, my next question is for Oluwapelumi, and it's still about creatives. I'm a very big fan of building performance creatives. I love testing concepts. I love testing angles. I love testing target personas, building creatives for target personas. Because I try to look at creatives from a point of a particular need, because when you have a product that has several features or several products, right, people are coming to the product for their different needs. For example, I'm going to be using Kuda a lot because that's where most of my work is right now. So at Kuda right now, we have an app where people come in for the usual transactions like sending money, receiving money. Some people come in for savings. Some people come in for gift cards, or even our cardless payment options. Right, these are people who have different needs and different wants. Right. So my question for you, Oluwapelumi, is based on how much work you did at Safe Border. I think when I read through your LinkedIn, one of the things that you mentioned was that you were optimizing creative insights across the different channels for Safe Border. So what I want to know now is, what was your biggest learning in researching what resonates with users, also taking into consideration what I've mentioned about different customers coming to your product or to your brand for different needs. So when you were optimizing creative insights for Safe Border, what was the biggest learning you took out, whether it was direct marketing research on different channels or reviews from websites or Trustpilot or whatever? What was your biggest learning in researching what resonates with users based on the fact that there are different needs and desires or wants that different users have? Yeah.
The easiest way to say, or in one word, language. In one word, language. So, growing up, my mom used to say something, and I didn't quite understand it till I started doing this thing. So, she said that there's something that hearing your language does to you in a sea of other languages. So, each when you pray, right? When you pray in your language, it almost feels like God can hear you directly. You know, something along those lines. But I try to see that when it was at Safe Border first before then Umba at some point. But essentially, a lot of all the things that we're doing were basically all the creative were English language. So we're doing color testing. Or Safe Border's colors is white and orange. So if we use orange background more, or if we use white background more, or do we use more people, or do we use more drawings, right, and things like that. So really like the general things that we more or less did until I said, guys, I what happened was I was asking them generally that, so when you go around the city, right? Or I forgot how, it was based off of a conversation about offline ads, and I said, oh, so some of your ads are actually in Swahili, and they're like, oh yeah, that people do that a lot with City. Then I also had to interact with some of their products over there as well. And I realized that, oh wow, so we're busy creating ads, videos, images in English, and these people mix their Swahili with their English as they go. So why are we not doing that? We did it, and the results were phenomenal. In fact, at the height of all of that, I also started picking up Swahili so that I could understand some of what was being said. So when we have creatives, what does this mean? How does this? When you say this, so when I eventually had to go there, I spoke a bit of it because understanding um, how someone talks to you helps you a lot. It's why before when you see a Hausa guy, for example, selling stuff and you speak Hausa to him, you're more likely to get a cheaper price, especially if you say it with the right accent.
Yeah.
You know, so language is probably the most important thing that I learned from all of that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My next question is for Fabio. So, Fabio, I want to hear how you think about channel creative fits, having the right creatives for the right channel. How do you go about that? For one, different channels have different creative needs. What's working on TikTok might not work on Twitter. And that's actually true because what will work on Twitter, what I've seen in my own experience, what works on Twitter doesn't work on Google Ads. So now I want to understand how you think about channel creative fit, having the right creatives for the different channels that you're working on or working with. Yeah.
So I think you already answered the question you asked, but I'll just put some context based on my experience. So what I've done over the years is to have a strategy, and that strategy, irrespective of the channel I use, I always tell people that work with me or well in a campaign to use this strategy. I create creative that is one fit for purpose. Now, fit for purpose is what's the purpose of this creative, right? Is it for awareness, conversion, business growth? We need to make sure that we have the mindset that we're creating fit for purpose. After we've done that, right, which is the first layer, then we then do fit for channel, right? Yes, we have decided the purpose. Now, with this same purpose, I want to spread it across channels. However, I need to make sure that it's fit for each of the channels, whether with the way we are delivering it, whether dimension wise, whatever it is, we need to
Yeah.
understand the channel and then fit for channel. And then the last that I would use, I would say, is fit for resonance. I want to make sure that our creative is has that energy to have that reflection on people, irrespective of the channel. So when you have that framework, right, it just helps you all the way from the ideation stage first, right? Oh, let's just build the idea. Second, this idea is big. Can this idea fit in these channels? Then we filter the channels. Yes, if someone sees it with a frequency of 1 or 2 or 3 times, is it going to have a resonance over the air? Now, that's the first strategy that I use. And then the second thing that I always use in the communication, like Oluwapelumi has said, which language is one of the things that he uses, which is great. Irrespective, I always use the PAS model, which is problem, agitate, and
Yeah.
solution, right? As much as you speak the same language, I think if I go to the guy selling suya and I'm able to identify his problem, he'll have more time to want to speak to me because he just feels that, oh, this guy feels what I feel, right? So that's why if you look at people like Kuda or the loan people, you won't just say take a loan. You tell us why we need the loan, right? Are you looking to pay school fees for your kids, right? It's a problem. I see it. Yes, I'm looking to pay school fees for my kids. Then I agitate, right? You can get up to 100,000. Oh, wow. And solution is where the CTA comes in, which is try it now or it comes out in 5 minutes and all. So for me, using those two frameworks, because if you look at performance marketing, there are a lot of metrics. You can get confused. You can try this out here. You go to a different industry. It's something different that is happening there. All the things you've learned here, you go to a different market. You can go to a market where if you use language for them, you're assuming that, oh, they'll jump on the hard, but hey, they don't even care about your language. Maybe that market is a market where they want to speak English and they want to feel among. Do you understand? So for me, fit for purpose, fit for channel, fit for resonance is going to help you across that strategy. That's what I would say.
I've taken those three things. My creative team at Coda are going to be hearing me say fit for purpose, fit for channel, and fit for resonance. Thank you, Fabio. My next question is directed at all the speakers. So right now in today's landscape, right, brands need to put out tons of volume when it comes to performance creatives, because that's how you win. To be honest, you need to have like I said initially, a lot of us tend to over index on quality but then under index on quantity. But if you're going to play to win, you have to over index on both of them, right? So right now volume is king, and it's a huge focus for a lot of brands. At Kuda, we have a whole lot of focus on pumping out creatives, testing creatives. However, we have also realized that for you to put out that much volume, you also need to over-index on ideas. So that's like on the angle of concepts, have so many concepts, have so many ideas. But the issue now is at some point we tend to have too many ideas, right? And I think everyone on this call probably has been at that point where you have too many ideas to execute. So how do you prioritize what needs to be built when you have too many ideas, but you also have a high velocity team, but you just have too many ideas to execute, but you're also thinking of volume is king. So you're thinking volume is king. You need to have you need to over-index on quantity, and then you have too many ideas. Then how do you pick what ideas to execute? So I'm going to start off with Oluwapelumi, and then please just take 1 minute each, 1 minute, and then let's move on to the next question. So how do you deal with executing too many ideas, or how do you pick what ideas to execute on when you're thinking about creatives? Yeah.
I use the ICE method. So
Okay.
impact, I've forgotten the C, and then the third one is ease. So impact, what's likely to drive like the best impact, right? Or the most impact, right? Then the E is for ease. How easy is it to do? The third one is confidence. So that C is confidence. So if we're doing this thing, how sure are we that it's going to work? And then you score all those things from 1 to 10, 1 being low and of course 10 being high. And by the time you're done, do an average and you basically choose which one we're going with first, and then I use that to arrange the rest.
Cool. Thank you. Definitely, Akuda, we do.
Confidence and ease.
Yeah. Impact, confidence, and ease. I'm just gonna say again. I know a lot of my answers are going to Akuda, but yeah, I'm sorry. Kuda is my life right now. So, but yeah, Akuda, I work on a lot of our performance creatives, and when you mentioned the ICE framework, I was like, yes. So I use the ICE framework to like rank and prioritize the kind of test I would take, especially when I have like a huge roadmap. So, like you said, impact, confidence, and effort. Ideally, what I do is if I'm running tests, and these are iterations, not like net new creatives. What I do is to start with tests that are low effort. So I know that the effort is low, but I have high confidence, and I believe that the impact for that test is going to be high. So that's how I think about it. So yeah, thank you, Oluwapelumi. Let's move on to Fabio. So how do you prioritize when you have so many ideas to execute and too little time? Yeah, let's put that in.
So great. I mean, too little time, which I'll go with the middle C, which is confidence. I know Tayo and Oluwapelumi have said something that has really gone through my career. I trust my guts a lot. So I try to it's test and learn. Trust me, we'll fail, we'll learn from it. So I'm not scared of taking ideas. But one thing that Pelumi said is one thing that I think I've been able to work in teams that has helped me achieve that. I remember at Bet King, we had the same during the World Cup. We had the same, so many creatives and all should go. And I was able to spend 20 million over a weekend on the 4 ideas that my guys gave me, and we're able to use data to just choose which of it. Right. So for me is I go with my gut. If you are working with a team that is very open to test and learn, then I go with the amount that I have, test all the creative, like an MVP period, right? See what it is, and then we all then see what the data does, and then we make a decision. That's how I've handled it so far.
Okay, thank you. Tayo, you have 1 minute to answer this.
I know your time limit is for me. Um, I don't have any. I usually don't have like any framework that I follow. Most of the time, I just test based on what the last data point says, what the metrics currently look like. Recently, I had like an issue with like decline in results, and the last change I made was implementing TCPA on the campaign. So what did I do? I didn't want to go back to manual ECPC. So I actually like just after like, okay, I'm going to tweak this and actually like switch it to maximum clicks. And that led to higher results, better results basically, like over the next week. Basically 2x what we had like the first 2 weeks of March, we got it in the third week of March. So that is how I tend to like this thing. And in terms of like creatives, sorry, it's also like looking at what your creatives look like. Maybe it's also confidence, guts in that sense. And then I was just like, okay, this is what I think will work best. But I usually like make that decision. I judge based on like what the data, like what the last data point says. And then I use that to like determine what to go on next.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much, Tayo. We are kind of like running out of time, but there's still so many questions to ask. But you know what? We're gonna do this. Ayumi Queen's here. Don't worry. We're gonna get to it. So my next question is for Fabio. And Fabio, you worked at Bet King, right? And I know that there are a lot of restrictions for betting companies. Even at Kuda, we don't like advertise our betting products because of so many restrictions from CBN, this Meta, like just a whole lot of things going on. However, creative diversity is one of the major ways for you to reach new audiences on the different ad channels that you're operating on. And if you want to scale, you need creative diversity. So I imagine that it could or it would have been really hard for you guys, or I don't know hard, but maybe a bit difficult for you to like produce all the different types of content you need, looking at the fact that considering the fact that there's so many restrictions for the industry that you're playing in. So I want to know, how did you go about this at Kingmakers? Yeah.
Okay, so to put this out there, I think working in the sporting industry, sports betting industry and iGaming industry, I can tell you, I don't know, I'm now in fintech, but I can tell you the iGaming industry is the fastest paced that I have seen. When I mean fastest paced that I have seen, I mean consumers are making their decisions now every second, right? You're putting something out there to say, Man U is playing us now, the odds are this, and now you see everybody betting this direction, and the next 30 seconds, when the game starts, everybody's going this direction, and performance is crazy. So when you talk about, so one of the things that I think that we have done or we did with Kingmakers is to understand the users that these guys are very interested in how their money is spent and are less interested in the paparazzi of your creative, right? They do not care if your creative has that fine color, has this and that. What's the message the creative is passing to them at that particular decision-making time? And because it's very highly competitive, they are looking at your message, they're looking at the next 5 guys' messages. So what you need to do is to make sure that the diversity is coming from the amount of messages you churn at the same time. How do I mean? Just again, Manchester is playing Arsenal. You need to know that there are thousands of need states. There's that guy betting because he's an Arsenal fan. There's that guy that wants to use 100 naira to win 200 million. And you need to make sure that you connect their wallet size, right? You need to make sure that they are spending there. Now, how did we do it at Kingmakers? I wouldn't lie to you. There's no level of creative team, designer team that you sit in your office that can be that fast. So we move into AI. Now, there are tools that get the direct feeds We already create creative templates based on the games, right? These are already running live. Now, based on the game situation, right? The scores, the dribble, who is trying to score, those creatives change automatically, right? Across all the art channels that we are using. So I don't need to say Man U is losing now. Let me go and convince the guy that Man U is losing, so he bets on us now. This creative changes across the whole heart has done. So that's the only way we've been able to scale, because there's need for speed, and we're focusing more on performance, time bound, wallet size, and that does the work for us.
Okay, you answer. I think you answered the first part of, or the latter part of the question.
Okay.
But my initial question is on the restrictions. Were there restrictions that you had to, like, figure out how,
No,
yeah,
so
I want
yeah, yeah.
to know.
So ideally, with the channels, if you are a registered betting company, right, you can always, submit and have the opportunity to do. Now, the biggest restriction is the restriction of reach, right? I would be paying 10 times what you are going to be paying for, maybe you're selling a cloth, right? So there's restriction of reach. I'm not allowed to reach as much as people as possible. That's one. The second restriction is the restriction of intent. My ad would not show to you if you have not one way or the other showed an intent to gamble or to bet. Now, those restrictions were very big, because when we don't, you cannot use the universe of how many Nigerians are on the internet to use for sport betting, because if you say, oh, there are 100 million Nigerians on the internet, you find out that you can only reach 10 million of them, right? There's also the restriction of intent. Like I said, this guy bets, but he doesn't want to show any of the digital platform that he bets, so he's not going to comment on the betting list. So
Yeah, yeah.
there wasn't a one way to fix this, but it was a situation of adjusting every time you see restrictions and try to play around the restrictions. Some people try to use influencers for it, some people try to do that for it, but over time I just felt that intent is the biggest channel for sport betting. Somebody search for something around football or around betting, and then it joins into it. That's how I
Okay.
studied the restrictions.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So if anyone watching on YouTube, you get that you need to over-index on intents, right, to get through all the restrictions that Meta or CBN or whoever would have. So now we're moving into the third part of the webinar, and this is the execution and optimization section. And here we're going to be talking about, budget allocation. We're talking about cost caps. So we're going to try to get through a lot of these things really quickly. I know that we have about 30 minutes for questions on YouTube. So for all my speakers, please, again, just 1 minute for each of these questions. So my first question is for Palumi. So Oluwapelumi, how do you manage budget allocate? I think you actually addressed this in the first point, but I'm going to just let you, the first time you spoke, so I'm going to just let you take it again. But how do you manage budget allocation across our platforms to ensure that your performance remains strong? Yeah.
Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, metrics basically define,
Yeah.
which platform, which channel gets which money. One thing I always try to do though is be flexible, because at the end of the day, sometimes you might be chilling on Google and then someone raises one crazy money and then they suddenly dump all of their ad budget on Google, and suddenly your own CPA is times two because somebody else, is bidding in the same bucket. So you then of course have to look for the other channels where they're not working or where they don't have enough, so that you don't still lose out on your own acquisition figure. So you move things around. Another thing is, because of course I've worked in VC funded companies, some of the things that come up when at different times is, oh, we're going towards the end of the month, we need to hit X amount of numbers, or oh, we're trying to raise series 100 or series whatever, and we need to hit this particular numbers. Then you also switch around. Okay, fine. The channel you're using when you're chilling and basically just trying to get stuff done, different from the channel that will bring you numbers, because the while the investor is interested in transactions, they really mostly want to say, oh, you guys now have like X amount of users and all of that, or active users. Okay, no problem. And then we switch channels based on that. So, but generally, the metrics, what you're trying to achieve at any point in time, defines which channel gets the best budget for you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to take this time to let everyone watching on YouTube to, start thinking about your questions and what you want the speakers to address. Because after this section, I think we have like 10, 15 minutes. We're going to get into the questions. So if you have questions, please start dropping them on YouTube and then we'll get to it. So yeah, I'm going to move on to Tayo Sadique. So Tayo, I am a big fan of using bitcaps, especially when you want to get more what would I call it now? You want to reach more people or you want to get more conversions without overspending, right? But I'm not very dogmatic on having bid caps or whatever. There's some people that say, oh no, you have to use bid caps, you have to use cost caps. But I want to hear your own view, like when it comes to all the arguments you've heard about setting cost caps. What are you for or against when you're working with really high budgets? Are you for or against setting bid caps on your campaigns?
Not really. And I would say why. If you are, I'm going to use Google Ads. Yeah. If you are running Google Ads and you are using like exact match, I'll just say go with like max clicks or max conversions are not really doing well. And funny, I was also having this conversation with somebody on this side. Mass conversions are not really doing well, but just use like max clicks. If you are running phrase match, try and put like target TPA like on your max conversion. So run for phrase match or broad match campaigns, use like target conversion, max conversion with a target CPA. So, but if you are like running exact match, most of the time you already determine what the intent is for those keywords. So just use like max clicks there. For Facebook, I don't set cost cap. I don't set bid caps. I just I leave it open. I try to optimize other things. So I'm optimizing creatives. I'm optimizing placements. So feed versus reels or reels. Removing all those ephemeral like placements, story placements, and all those other things. I just keep it on feed, reels, and the like the major inventories and the likes. So I'm optimizing other things. I'm not really optimizing, for cost caps and all. So yeah, I think that's my answer there.
Okay, so yeah, like Tyro said, you can succeed with like different strategies depending on the channel. So for example, on Meta, he's not setting anything, right? But on Google it is. So as a marketer, you can't be too dogmatic, that it has to be big caps on every platform. You need to test what will work out in different scenarios and proceed with whatever results you get, whether with big caps or cost caps. If you see cost cap works on Google, then you probably would proceed with that. But you can't be too dogmatic or even apply the learnings that you get from other channels and apply it into another channel without testing it on that particular channel. So yeah, thank you, Tayo. My next question. Sorry, did someone say something?
I wanted to say one more thing.
Okay.
On Facebook as well, cost caps are. If you set a cost cap on Facebook, I don't know if you've experienced this. Say Facebook is telling you recommended bid is $10, and then you go and set cost cap of $2. You probably sit there for the next 3 years and you will not get any impressions. And one thing again is if Facebook tells you recommended cost cap is $10 and then you go and set $15 or even set 10 there for your cost cap, trust me, you might still not get rich. So just open it up and let Facebook do its thing, because what ends up happening is some audiences are more expensive. And if you set a cost cap, Facebook will show your ad, will not show your ad to those audiences because they are more expensive. And what makes them expensive can be a lot of things. Maybe somebody in real estate is targeting them, and real estate ads are CPMs are actually very high. If you're having audience overlap with somebody, Facebook wants to show the person in real estate because they have a higher CPM and they will outbid you. think of like the screen real estate as like an auction. So you are not it's not only your kind of brand that is bidding. So which is why I don't use like bid caps on this thing on or like cost caps on Meta. You are not the only one bidding. Somebody in a luxury niche might be bidding against you,
Again.
and if their product is more expensive, they are bidding way higher. They will win that inventory. So when you set this thing, Facebook can adjust your bid to match that customer, and then another time it sees that okay, it only needs $2 to bid for this person. They will put show your ad and all of that. So hot take, don't use cost caps or bid caps with Facebook.
Cool. I hope everyone on YouTube can hear that. Don't use cost cap on Facebook. Next question is for Fabio. So one thing that I have realized over the past 5 years is that if you want to improve the effectiveness of your large scale campaigns, you also need to double down on the life cycle end, right? Because your life cycle journeys would help you convert whoever you're bringing in from your paid campaigns, right? So how do you, I want to hear from Fabio, whether at InterSwitch or at Kingmakers or at Rekit Benkisa, how did you use your own channels? That's I would specifically say your life cycle channels like email, push, SMS, and all. How did you use your own channels to like further improve or ramp up the effectiveness of your high spend campaigns?
Okay, awesome. So yes, we spent to bring the guys in, like you've mentioned, and then if you are not careful, like Oluwapelumi said, you just be recycling users because they are coming in, they are coming back in again. So you find out that you are spending to bring them. So that's where Lifecycle comes in. And yes, paid channels is good, but you'd want to use your own channels like you've mentioned. What we have done, I would use Kingmakers as an example because that's where I said it's very highly competitive. A guy can come into Bet King today and tomorrow move to Sportybet. He doesn't care about you. So you need to continue to
Yeah.
understand his life cycle. One of the things that we've done is to use, like you said, email based on context, right? We are creating audiences while we're doing acquisition. What people need to understand is that they need to also create audiences while they are on the channel. Okay, this set of users are users that spend XYZ amount. For me, I created tier in terms of the amount they spend monthly, and I also created in the times of games that they spend monthly, and we make sure that we're giving them contextual message. I try to use an example. If you have a kid, baby center acquires you when you're pregnant, and you find out that over your 9 months period, month over month, they're sending you messages to say, hey, you're in the second trimester, this might be what is happening to you, or that might be what is happening to you. So that's what we've done. But one of the biggest thing, even using these channels, right, which is email, we have an app that's push notification, is where I work with my data scientists, is my loyalty program, right? I give a lot of, if you see sport betting companies, we give a lot of bonus, right? But
Yes.
there's a statistics towards that bonus. I can tell you, if as a sport betting company, I give you 10,000 naira, there's a statistics or there's a mathematics that says that from this 10,000 naira that I'm giving you free, this guy would spend additional 50,000 naira, and that my ROI is like 5x of what I've spent now. But the important thing that own channel helps you to do is that I'm not paying again to acquire this guy, right? Even the money that I'm giving to him, I'm not giving it to Facebook or Google. I'm putting it back on my platform, right? So that's what this has done. First, you need to understand each of the guys you've brought in, what life cycle they are. Second is you need to understand where you brought them in from to keep them. If this guy came in from Facebook, there's a different way you relate with Facebook people, even on your platform. Someone that came in from Facebook and you start to send emails, he or she would never read it, right? But that's where retargeting comes in, right? Which means he continues to see this. I think that's how we've achieved this over time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Fabio. We're moving on to measurements now. So now we've come from planning, campaign planning, and then we moved on to building your performance creatives. And the last section that we just touched on was execution and optimization, like running the campaigns. We talked about budget allocation and cost caps, and also using your own channels. So now we're going to get into measuring, right? Like Fabio said at the beginning, his hot take was, if you cannot measure it, you cannot how did you say it again? Sorry, Fabio, how did you put it again?
Can't measure, you can't improve.
You can improve. Yes. So now we're getting into the measurement end, and now I think we'll just have like five minutes to run through about 2 to 3 questions. So yeah, so my first question is going to be for everybody. I wanted you to take 1 minute to just speak to this. So right now, attribution is a very sensitive subject for a lot of brands. There is not one way to do attribution, right? And I think it's the same thing for a lot of things. There is not one way to do performance creatives, to build your performance creatives, right? But what I want to understand is, what are your general rules of thumb for understanding your campaign data, right? So I know that attribution is very specific to the kind of brand or even the kind of industry or something, right? But what are your rules, like your general rules of thumb for understanding the campaign data that you get from the kind of channels that you're working on? So yeah, I'm going to start with Sadiq first. Tayo, I'm going to start with you. So just give me 1 minute. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you, Tayo. Can anyone hear Tayo?
I was on mute. Yeah, I
Okay.
said general campaign rules in terms of like measurement. In most cases, try and like, you know, set up measurement as try to get close to. I think that's like the rule of thumb I follow. Try to get close to revenue as much as possible with your measurement. And when you're optimizing your campaign, optimize for that particular activity that is closest to revenue as much as possible. In some cases, it might be hard to do that because of attribution window, especially in B2B. So in B2B, you can actually find attribution windows spanning as far as like between 45 to 90 days. The best platforms have like 30-day attribution window. So what you should try and optimize for in that case is, what is that, you know, activity that I can optimize for that is meaningful towards revenue, but actually happens within that 30-day attribution window. So that can be MQL to SQL conversion. Do you understand? So you know, okay, if this prospect converts from like an MQL to an SQL, we are able to determine if this person is an SQL within a 30-day period. So
Yeah.
you can like, you can say, oh, I want to optimize my campaigns for SQLs. If you are able to optimize for opportunity within a 30-day period, optimize for opportunity. If revenue attribution comes after your 30-day period. But if you can optimize for revenue within that 30-day period, optimize for revenue. Same thing goes for app campaigns or like in fintech. So you might not be able to like say, in most cases, I try to use 7-day click, 7-day attribution window for fintech, because that's why I feel like, you know, rapid fire and all of that. So if you want to attribute now, you might say, oh, KYC happens within this first 7 days, but the actual like revenue generating action, maybe they completed a trade or they made a transaction. Probably like the first one they do is in like after 7 days, or most cases it's after like first 7 days. So you can say you're optimizing for like KYC one or deposit. Maybe deposit happens earlier, something like that. So you just try and like, you know, optimize for that particular event that comes close, that or is closest to your main objective. For every business, your objective should be revenue. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Oluwapelumi, 1 minute. What are your general rules of thumb for like understanding your campaign data?
For me, as much as possible from the beginning, I basically try to understand that what I'm trying to do is trying to get people who transact. And thankfully, because of track record, all of that, now when I'm speaking, I'm not interested in downloads. I'm starting from signups and starting from transactions and all of that. And I basically start to optimize for all of those. In an ideal setting, I am closer to finance and I'm saying, okay, fine. Oh, X amount was deposited, this happened, so I can say, okay, fine. If we're making this amount, this is what I'm contributing to it and all that. Because, I mean, my reason for getting into performance marketing first and then eventually growth was I needed marketing to be more of a revenue center than a cost center. So we're not just spending money, we're making money.
Yeah.
And for me, everything else I do is tailored towards that. I am actually contributing to the business directly. So when the company is going down, they start by firing marketing people. It won't touch me, even if it's eventually gonna be the last. So for
Okay.
me, like just make sure that you can see the straight line to
From
money
your
being made.
campaign to the money being made. Yeah, definitely. So next is Fabio, your general rules of thumb for understanding your campaign data. 1 minute. Yeah.
So I'll just take from what Pelumi and Taya said. For me, I make sure that whatever it is I do, I directly tie it to actual business outcomes, like Pelumi has said. So sit with revenue, understand how I hardly look at I look at it, but I hardly look at make my decision based on the in-platform
Yeah,
engagement.
analytics. Yeah.
I can see a channel that has very big level of city. I remember when I got into Rekit, agency came to me and then they did a report. They said, "Oh, we had 15 million impressions. The brand managers were jumping up," and I paused. And I'm like, "Guys, wait, what does this mean to us? Who is this Fabio guy that they brought? They brought me here." So for me, it has to directly tie
That
into business outcomes. And I'll just give
Yeah.
you a simple scenario for it. As of today, even when I got into Switch, I do not tie registration or downloads as acquisition. If you work with me, and I'm not going to give you registration as acquisition, right? So I'll tell you what we did at BetKing. Is simple: is I tied acquisition numbers to what I call FTBs. FTBs is first time bettors, someone that downloaded, registered, and places his first bet, right? That that person is an acquisition for me. So if you come back to me and say, Fabio, we had 20,000 registration, I just ask you, how many FTB? You say 10. I said, oh, our acquisition number is just 10, not 20,000. So direct it to actual business outcomes, and your life will be better. Though you would have a lot of fights because a lot of people want you to report vanity metrics, but I mean, as experts, we will fight back for it.
Thank you, Fabio. This is gonna be I'm so sad. I have quite a number of questions that I really want to run through, but I can't really run through everything because we're kind of like reaching the time limit, and we have like I think we have some questions in the comments. But my next question would be for Fabio, you also. So I know that upper funnel channels like YouTube, OOH, and TV are very hard to measure, right? So, what ways have you been able to measure what value these channels bring, whether at InterSwitch or Reckitt or Jumia? I want to know how you were able to measure the value that these channels brought to the brand.
Okay, makes sense question. And why I like this question is I think one of the biggest thing for my career is that most of the companies that I go is a place, okay, we just need digital. And then when I leave, I end up making sure that before I came in, digital was 10% of the marketing budget. And then I leave and digital became like 70% of the marketing budget, right? And why? Because it's easier to attribute digital, right? Oh, this impressions, this, that. Now, when you call the other channels, there's something called the media mix modeling, and this is for advanced growth marketers or performance marketers, because you get into that space where you need to actually understand each of the channel, right? One of the first thing that you do is and then doing that, you need a lot of historical data, right? Month over month, year over year, understand marketing spend, you need a lot of sales data. But for this forum, I'll just make it simple, right? Why am I making it simple? Is I always try to do the switch on and switch off, especially if you have a CMO that is open to go. Switch on and switch off is same period last year, we did TV, we spent 1 billion. This year, let us switch off TV and let us switch on digital only and let us see what the sales is, right? After you do that for a particular time, different switch on and switch off, this is just the easy way of modeling it. You'll be able to understand the impact of each of the channels. So my response to this is a lot of work, but there needs to be a lot of experimentation to give you at least about 80% accuracy to understand what each of this channel being. The biggest channel that you have issues with is the traditional channel. We can't switch off billboard. 20 million people pass Oshodi. If you switch on billboard, right? So and then you find out, okay, let's switch it off. And then we switch it off. Then we say, okay, where's this 20 million people that are passing Oshodi? Especially if you're working with a channel where the conversion happens online. The easiest way on Google Analytics to see is, okay, maybe you use the source direct, right? People that just hear about it and just come to it. But you then find out that after your 20 million people pass Oshodi, not 20 and sees, they tell you, we are going to write www.kuda.com on the this thing. But you find that 20 million people are not typing www.kuda.com on it. So that's how simple I'll answer this question. This particular one needs a specific webinar for.
It does actually. So now, thank you. I know that in the questions that prepared, I have so much more to talk about on incrementality, because I think when it comes to measuring the performance of your campaigns, we need to be looking at incrementality, right? Not just like downloads or installs or reach or impressions. Also, I think, you know what, I'm going to take one last minute, and I'm going to direct this at Oluwapelumi. How do you, what are the blended and financial metrics that you look at apart from your in-platform numbers, right? And this is also related to incrementality. Like if you're talking about the impact that a channel has, it's not just the downloads or the installs. You're looking at the bottom of funnel events, that whether it's your transactions or it's even people sharing their what do you call it? What's that thing called? Their referral codes with other people, right? Getting other people to download the app. So right now I want to understand what are some of those blended financial metrics that you look at apart from the in-platform metrics that you would see on YouTube or on Meta or Snap. Yeah. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Okay, so number one, if you're a Nigerian brand targeting Nigerian customers, please, if you're doing referral codes or referrals generally, make sure it is the very last thing you decide to try. If you do decide to try it, make sure you have all of that covered. But generally for me, one of the first things I do is make sure that whether it's on web or on mobile or whatever the platform is, I have events for every single action. So whether you're buying airtime or you're saving or you're investing, there is an event that handles each of those things, and I feed those events into every single platform. One on the acquisition side so that I can optimize for that event down the line, but also so that as much as possible I can see the results. So for example, if it's mobile and you're using an app like AppsFlyer, a platform like AppsFlyer, right? If those events are feeding into AppsFlyer, you know exactly how many new airtime purchases Google gave you, or how many new data purchases Facebook gave you, because you already have all of those things measured. Some people just try to gloss over event setup, but the truth is, beyond the lifecycle management part of it, it's also for your own metrics sake. Because I mean, beyond first time sign up or maybe uninstalls or whatever basic metrics would automatically complete mix panel or Firebase, you need in-depth nitty-gritty data. And for me, it's transactions. For example, one of the things we did at Umba, right? Airtime is not airtime in other places in the world, and they are coming from other places in the world into Nigeria. So I said, guys, we need to switch what we call airtime, right? Actually call it airtime, because airtime is what Nigerians understand.
Yeah.
and data. Then also take it out from under the bill payment and put it on the home page within the app. And we did that. But we're monitoring the events that are attached to that. And in the first month, we saw a 20% increase in the purchase of airtime simply because we brought it from under bill pay and put it on the home page. Those are the things that you look at beyond this. So by the time you go from platform to in-app data to the numbers in terms of actual transaction volume and value, you have everything that you need to look at.
Thank you very much, Oluwapelumi. Now I'm going to go to the comments and take the question that I have from
Wait,
Oluwamuyiwa.
sorry, quick one.
Yeah.
Quick one. So still on this airtime issue, one of the things that we did was also give like a 2% cash back when people buy airtime. And then we realized that we're suddenly seeing an increase in airtime purchase and increasing. So we started talking to customers and realized that the bulk of people were buying that airtime when we started giving out the 2% cash back were people who were selling retail to other people. So that 2% became their profit.
Hmm.
So again, Nigeria with learnings and constant interesting things.
Yeah, there's so much to learn actually. So I'm going to take Oluwamuyiwa's question, and I'm going to be directing this at Tayo, and he said, "What's your strategy for app installs and probably an ideal daily spend without burning cash?"
Okay. I was trying to unmute and I was stopping my camera. Strategy for app install campaigns. Personally, I'm not a fan of app install campaigns. And in my experience, you get better app installs or higher quality app installs if you can like do the extra step. So when you want to run app install campaign, I'm assuming that you have like an app flyer and adjust setup. So go the extra step and get your devs to add those custom events for your bottom of funnel events.
Yeah.
So KYC deposits, if you are like in fintech. If you are not in fintech, think of like, okay, what are the steps that one would take before they get to the aha moment or the revenue generating event, basically. So maybe that's a purchase or something. Then optimize for that event or the one that you can get within your attribution window. Optimize for it. What you end up seeing is you still get a lot of installs, but your install will convert more to signups, because one thing with app campaign is you rarely find apps that don't have like that install to sign up this thing. So, and that is already a step added on top of like your conversion journey. So they will need to first of all install and then they'll sign up.
Yeah.
So if you are optimizing for like that, bottom of funnel event or middle of funnel event, you can make sure that like your users are able to get further down the line, and you will find that you have higher app installs to sign up conversion rate, higher sign up to, let's say, KYC conversion rate, KYC to deposit conversion rate, like that. And then ideal daily spend. To be honest, daily spend depends on whatever product you are trying to push. So what I usually like try to how I usually try to think around daily spend is how much does it take, or how many users are you looking to get? So our yellow card, we used to like do tests. So when we are like entering a new market or we are starting a new channel or we are running ads for a new product line, we do like 3K ad budget over a 30-day period. So we are looking at $100 a day for specific channels, basically. So if we're like, spreading that, we now say, oh, this is what our baseline looks like. And every day we want to get, say, let's say our baseline is now $3 per install, $2 per install. We now say we want to get 500 users in this market. So we divide that by 30 and then you multiply, okay, let's say 300 users, divide that by 30, that's 10. So you now say, okay, $2 per install. I need 10 installs a day to get to 300. So I'm setting my ad budget at $20. Is that $20? I think it's $20. Yeah. So you know that, okay, in the month you are going to spend $600. So that's how you tend to like, you just walk backwards before you run a test, make it, throw it in the open, and then you now like So there's no ideal daily spend. You just have to like it changes depending on your strategy or the product that you're trying to push.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tyra. I don't know if there are any other questions from YouTube, those who are watching on YouTube. Um, it's time for us to actually wrap up the webinar, but this has been really good. I am very thankful, actually, for having Tyra, Oluwapelumi, and Fabio here. And you guys have actually given me also a lot of learnings and insights for me to take back to my own job at Kuda. And I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching from YouTube actually also had a lot of things to write down and look through after this session. So thank you so much, Tyra. Thank you, Oluwapelumi and Fabio. I'm hoping that we can do this again another time. Maybe not growth hackers, but like somewhere else. But yeah, I'm really excited to speak with you again. I think there's a lot to learn from the three of you, the man, the myth, the legend. You guys can pick whatever one, who is the man, who is the myth, and the legend. But yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much to Growth Hackers also for putting this together. This is my first time I'm moderating a session. I think I did pretty decent. So thank you so much, everybody. And I'm going to hand over to Dara. I think Dara is going to come shortly to put this. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ayomiko. I think it's been an amazing tour us so far. I just want to thank all our speakers, my boss Fabio, my boss Pelumi, my boss Tayo. I call them all my bosses because literally I keep on learning from every single one of them. And also thank you, Ayomiko. It's actually surprising that this is your first time moderating because I think you're natural. You've basically been able to coordinate the whole session and go with the flow and also like keep up the energy. So thank you guys. And to all our speakers who have been with us, both our speakers and our listeners who have been with us, I think we still have about 36 people still listening to us till 6 p.m. Right, that's a lot, and that shows that value is being delivered back to back, right? And so I want to thank our listeners for joining us and still staying till now. And for people that are interested in contacting our speakers, right? We'll just be displaying how you can get to reach our speakers, right? So you can reach Oluwapelumi on these platforms. You can also reach Tayo, Fabio, and Ayomiko on these platforms as they share, right? And if you're just wondering exactly what Growth Hackers Africa is all about, this particular webinar and a couple of series of webinars have been brought to you by Growth Hackers Africa. And Growth Hackers Africa is a community of growth operators across different businesses, different startups, different product-led companies within Nigeria and also outside of Nigeria, which is Africa as a whole. And we are basically focused on enabling operators, fellow growth operators, to know what's working within the African tech space, right? So we are very distilled in terms of the insights we deliver, the replicable playbook we share, and also the conversations we have about what exactly is working, what exactly is pulling the moving the needle and driving growth for African tech startups, African tech companies, African product-led companies across Africa, right? And this is one of the series. This is one of the videos or one of the webinars from our series, which is on different pillars of growth. We've discussed social media in the past. We've discussed community. We've discussed SEO. We discussed product-led growth as our last month, and this month, we are discussing large-scale advertising, right? And so I'm very confident that if you are probably running large-scale ads of over $100K dollars in a month, right? I'm sure this webinar has been very, very much useful. Knowing what exactly you're doing well and you should continue. Knowing things that you probably not been doing as good and you need to improve upon, and even new things that you could actually explore. So I hope and I trust that this has been as useful to you and also as exposing to you as it has been for me, right? And for next month, right, we are still going to be taking a bit of a further dive, right? Still into marketing, right? And we're going to be exploring. So today we focus much more on, Meta, Facebook, Google Ads, which are very, very mainstream channels, right? So we're going to be looking at different other channels like the OEMs, right? The publisher, the programmatic DSPs, the third publishing parties, platforms, and how you can leverage these successfully. Some people have the notion that these platforms do not convert well. come next month, you'll find out if they do convert or they don't, and if they do, how you can also make them convert for your own company. And if you're interested in joining Go South Africa, the platform that brought this up, right, you can easily just visit the link on your screen, which is bit.ly/sign up to go to GHA. You basically fill a simple form, and once you fill the form, you'll be admitted into the community. Please ensure you fill the form and ensure you fill the fields of the form, because also as a growth community, we also like do a bit of list scoring, and so the more details you share on the form, the higher your chances of actually getting into the community. So once again, to join GHA, go to South Africa, bit.ly/sign up to GHA. I think that's mostly it for me. And if you have any good comments, if you have any feedback about the webinar, you can actually just drop it in the comments, right? We'll capture it and be able to like use that. And for next month, please don't hesitate to invite others. It's still the same link. The link will be updated with the new platform, with the new webinar, right? So it's still the same link, bit.ly/GHA webinars, right? So you can invite others, share with your community, share with people around you, share with your network, right? And definitely, I think for this particular lineup of speakers, we definitely, before Ayomiko steals my speakers and also we read them, we definitely have another session. We should definitely have another session, provided everyone is happily and willing. We should definitely have another session that will be much more extensive than this, right? I think that's all from my end. Till next time, guys. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend and the rest of your evening. And cheers.
Thank you, Dara. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.